Do you remember what the food was like overseas?
Oh, yes. Um, we had three kinds of rations. Sea rations came in cans, and we had a little can opener to open them. It was a can about the size of a Campbell soup can, and what I remember eating most of the time was called meat and vegetable hash. Um, you could eat it if you had a way to do it. If you didn't, you just opened the can and ate it out of the can.
I think it would be colorful to describe what soldiers call what you ate.
Um,
Hash.
uh,
He's blushing.
no.
It's a
No.
dreadful term.
You were thinking of what we ate in mess halls when we were served actual food.
Well, just what was it called?
Um, well, to be
SOS.
yes, to be absolutely frank,
That's what
we sometimes had creamed chipped beef on toast,
that was
and that was called shit on a shingle.
Well, that's lovely.
They gave out candy bars in England, but
Oh yeah,
the mess hall in Germany.
I'm glad to mention that I spent quite a long time in Mannheim at a signal depot, and we had a regular mess hall there rather than just being issued rations that we would eat wherever we were. So we would all go through the mess line, fill our mess kits, sit down and eat, and then we'd go through the mess line a second time and walk outdoors and put all the food into buckets that little kids were standing there holding, hoping we would give them food. These children were hungry.
Yeah.
And we had a very, very interesting thing happened a few years ago at a memorial service on the Sunday before Memorial Day at First Church in Kennebunkport. The pastor at that time asked if any of us would be willing to say anything about our military service. So, you know, ever loquacious, I put my hand up and said, yes, I would. And I told about giving food to these children in Mannheim. And after the service, to my great surprise, a woman I had never met came over to me. She spoke in a very heavy German accent. And she said, I have not been in this country very long, but I would like you to know that I was one of those hungry children.
Wow.
Isn't that lovely?
That's amazing. What was your reaction to the bombings at Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
I was horrified, absolutely horrified. I couldn't believe that had happened.
What about you, Grandmommy?
Well, the same way. But I took it in, but I have delayed reactions. If there's horrifying news, I'm rather stoic about it. And then, 3 days later, as an adult, I may have hysterics, but I didn't then. I just remember, my parents were certainly upset. But I'm not sure everyone was upset.
No, because of course the use of the atomic weapon ended the war in the Pacific quickly. But, it was very hard for me to accept the fact that our government was dropping explosives on cities in Japan that would vaporize people. They would simply disappear. The only thing I can mention that I was in Paris on VE Day, and I had been on duty all night at the signal depot, where I was in charge of everything that happened there overnight. And I was the only person on duty, I knew that something unusual was certainly happening because there were rockets going off over the city. So when I went off duty in the morning and went to the mess hall where I got breakfast, I picked up a copy of the Stars and Stripes, the Army newspaper, and in headlines that high it said victory. And V-Day in Paris was really, really something to experience. Whatever anybody was supposed to do that day, they didn't do.
Yeah.
And there was lots of dancing and embracing any woman who happened to walk by and that sort of thing. It was wonderful.
I can imagine.
Yeah.